And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gentlemen of Crypto. Today is Thursday, November 12th, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto every day, Monday through Friday. And today's top stories. Ray Dalio believes nations will outlaw Bitcoin. Bitcoin price keeps rising. The SEC collected $1.26 billion from unregistered ICOs in 2020. Deutsche Bank central bank digital currency will replace cash long term. How Ant suspended IPOs related to China's digital yuan. PayPal's crypto trading and payments go live in the US. And Binance.us adds North Carolina now services more than 80% of the US. Of course, first and foremost, let me take a look at some of these prices today. Bitcoin coming in strong, $16,017, up 0.67%. Ethereum is down $455.41, down 3.25%. Ripple's at 25 cents, down 2.23%. Chainlink is at $12.40, down negative down 6.84%. And let's see, Bcash is at $258, down 0.48%. And actually see everything else for the most part is in the red today. We got a couple that hit green, but more or less everything's in the red. We know it's Bitcoin season right now. The Bitcoin bull run has been officially commenced. We commenced it, I think, at $12,000 or $13,000. And since we're hitting that 16, of course, a lot of people are saying it's because of that PayPal news today. We'll get into that. But top news story of the day, that is Ray Dalio is back in the news. And with some not so promising news for Bitcoin. Looks like Ray Dalio believes nations will outlaw Bitcoin if Bitcoin price keeps rising. Ray Dalio is the billionaire hedge fund legend, believes that Bitcoin price going higher will only force governments to take action. He expects authorities to clamp down on cryptocurrencies when they see, quote, their material growth. He basically said he doesn't see the digital currencies succeeding the same way as other people do. And I kind of have to agree with him. This is something that initially when I first started in crypto, I didn't take into account. I didn't think it could happen or even a possibility of a government trying to outlaw Bitcoin. But after seeing the moves our government has made with crypto the last few years, I mean, it's not like a thing that's far-fetched or anything. It's something that I believe that's kind of already happening, right, as we prepare for CBDC, central bank digital currency. So we always say listen to some of the billionaires and some of the moves they're making on the investment side. I am actually with Ray Dalio on this, like I said. Even some of the other, very genius and billionaire investors that went all in on crypto, who have put some in their portfolio of crypto. I'm with Ray on this, and I think the thought will be around a lot of these older circles, traditional circles, legacy money, legacy organizations is going to be that, hey, we know the government, we've seen how they play. They are not going to let this thing go up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a Bitcoin and nothing happens. I unfortunately have to agree with them again. And with that agreement, I mean, for the most part, you can check the stories out. It's on Cointelegraph. Again, this is it right here. Ultimately, Dalio's skepticism toward cryptocurrencies comes down to the regulatory threat against them. If cryptocurrencies see material growth, Dalio said governments will likely ramp up their efforts to restrict them, though he did not specify at which Bitcoin price threshold governments will start taking direct action. He also said, I don't think digital currencies will succeed in the way people hope they would. Now that I disagree with. Digital currencies will succeed in the way we hope they will, because again, we mention this every so often. There are privacy coins. You got Zcash, you have Monero, you have new privacy coins coming up all the time. We have the in-house cryptic coin. Like, because of privacy coins, cryptocurrency will eventually survive, right? Or it is surviving, and it will succeed and thrive. It's already succeeding. If you get two people to use a crypto, you have successfully used cryptocurrency for peer-to-peer transaction. It works, right? So I don't think, I think it will succeed in the way we want it to. I think Bitcoin being the main one we're looking at may have more issues than we anticipate. We always say the war is over, but these are the bloody battles. And this is going to be one of the big ones. The only reason I think the government haven't outlawed it yet is because it's still at such a low price point. They know if they say Bitcoin's illegal or we outlaw or something, then that thing is going to jump 2 to 3-fold overnight. I mean, literally the government said today where Bitcoin's illegal, we might see a $50,000 or $60,000 price thing by the end of the week, right? A price point by the end of the week. So I think the government and governments around the world are waiting to see, hey, is this thing going to die down a little bit? Is it going to be slow? Or is this here to stay? And we'll get into it. But another article made comment or made mention that, you know, a lot of people are working from home. Everyone's in the pandemic. This is why digital currencies are actually going up, because there's no need to use cash. You're using credit cards, using gift cards, using all different types of payment. It's not cash, right? So again, I don't think that Bitcoin is being outlawed right now, because if it were to try to be outlawed, it would just go up in price. But I do think this is going to be the move for the government. Eventually, it's going to be at such a higher price. Maybe not a blanket ban, but it's going to be something where, hey, if you're not accredited, or if you don't already have X amount of dollars, or if you don't already live in this neighborhood, you're not allowed to buy it or have more. They might even do something like you're not allowed to have more than $1,000 of Bitcoin on you. But I think there will be some type of stringent regulations that essentially tries to ban it. I do think that's going to come about. What's going on, Tiffany from New York? Allison Thompson, Raj Shu, Sergeant Crypto. Hello, hello, hello. So to further illustrate this point, the next article, the SEC collected $1.26 billion from unregistered ICOs in 2020. One more time. The SEC collected $1.26 billion from unregistered ICOs in 2020. Talking about stopping innovation. Like, this is what stops innovation. Again, for those who don't know, ICOs, initial crowd offering, initial coin offering. The point of that is to do a crowdfunding, right? Where you want people from around the world to have the ability to give you money to go toward your project, to go to your coin or your token, or whatever you're doing. Of course, the United States deems this illegal. They said those are actually supposed to be securities by and large, especially if you have a CEO who they can arrest and fine. And because of this, they had went on, of course, we saw in 2018 and 2019, and then as well in 2020, started finding and arresting a lot of these people who had these ICOs. Now, what's crazy is that this doesn't even include the 2018 and 2019 numbers. This is just the 2020 number of $1.26 billion. And to put that in relation, they're saying the SEC is having a record-breaking year. I wonder why. But they've seized $4.68 billion this year. So that's almost about a quarter, more than a quarter, which came from cryptocurrency-related firms. That is crazy, people. When you're talking about a market like cryptocurrency, which in relation to other markets, not even around the world, just the United States, it is a very small market, right? It's an immature market. It's only, I lost count right now off the top of my head, but it's only 12, 13 years old. It's immature, it's young, it still has to be tested. There's all these bad things about it. I mean, literally 3.5 years ago, it was funny money, it was fake, it was all this type of stuff. And now in 2020, this same market that our government and policymakers and regulators have been so hypocritical of has also allowed the SEC to live and breathe light into his best year yet, right? In his record-breaking year, as they say, they were able to take $1.26 billion from unregistered ICOs. And again, they kind of list some of those ICOs here. That goes along with Telegram's one, which again, we talked about that Telegram ICO. I didn't fully agree with that either. You have 12 to 13 different organizations that invested in Telegram as an ICO, and then the government comes back a year later and says, hey, no, like you're not allowed to raise money on your own while giving us some, basically. We also see on here, they talk about Kick. That was a big one. They talk about BitClave, NAC Foundation, Unicorn, Boon Tech, and Bitcoin 2Gen. I remember them as well when the SEC came after them. So pretty popular cases. I'm sure they're not mentioning some of the other smaller cases that we've talked about here. Reggie Middleton, Veritasium. I remember SEC went after him earlier this year, but I remember there were plenty of companies. So again, that is 1.26 billion of 4.68 billion. People think about the SEC can seize money from everywhere. Out of 4.68 billion of everything they seize, 1.26 is coming from the smallest market and industry in the United States at this time right now. So that is incredible to see. And because of that, things like this is why I agree with Ray Dalio that yes, if Bitcoin continues the trend is going, if we do see these crazy numbers, I wouldn't be surprised to see the government outlaw. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do something funny where you either can't spend it everywhere, you hold on to it. There will be something in play where it's going to make you question your morality if you're doing the right or wrong thing according to law, versus with these other humans just going to tell you on a Wednesday or Friday morning when you wake up and go into the office. So again, these are stories that make me listen to people like Ray Dalio these days. You got to be more of a skeptic because there is third-party interference, unfortunately. Let's see. Sergeant Crypto said Deutsche Bank is talking. Oh yeah, I saw that. Deutsche Bank was talking about charging employees 5% tax to work from home so they can help the broader economy. Steven, Dalio is a dino that's been underperforming the market. Hilarious. That is to be added. Ray Dalio has been underperforming the market because he, like many other investors, decided not to get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, at least publicly for the most part. And as you can see, crypto and Bitcoin specifically is outperforming their own investments for sure. Wirespark said organized criminals. Again, Deutsche Bank, central bank digital currency will replace cash in the long term. Looks like Deutsche Bank has called on Europe to accelerate the development of central bank digital currencies. This is when it's happening. When the banks go after the government, it's like, hey, we need to get our CBDC rolling. They're starting to say that publicly. Then that means they already have their CBDC rolling. They just want to roll it out now. Deutsche Bank, the largest banking institution in Germany, is confident that central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, will replace cash in the future. The bank's research arm, Deutsche Bank Research, published a new report on economic estimations and proposals to assist global economies hit by the coronavirus pandemic, titled What We Must Do to Rebuild. The study was released on November 10th, and I'm assuming that's the same study that probably said if you work from home, you should be charged that 5% tax to help the broader economy, right? And I'm sure out of that 5% tax, the bank won't see any third-party transaction fees, right? They won't make no money off that 5%, of course. In the report, Deutsche Bank state that the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the, quote, digital cash revolution. This is what I was speaking of earlier. According to the bank, this revolution will eventually enable CBDCs like China's digital yuan or Sweden's e-krona to replace cash in the long term. Deutsche Bank called on national governments and private companies to work on alternatives to credit cards, stating, worldwide lockdowns and social distancing measures have only increased the use of cards over cash. To respond, companies and policymakers must design alternatives to credit cards and remove middleman fees. For now, the priority must be on regional digital payment systems, and the long-term central bank digital currencies will replace cash. So, so many things to say about this. And last but not least, Deutsche Bank Research also warned, they're starting to warn European policymakers about the risk of not developing their own digital currency project in response to China and Sweden's active progress in the field. So many things about this. First, to point out the two main obvious things. You have Deutsche Bank saying this. I remember the Canadian government a couple years ago saying, you have all these governments essentially saying the same thing. The thing that they're missing about this, or I won't even say they're missing, that they're trying to get people not to pay attention to, I guess, is that we already have all this. It's called Bitcoin. You don't need a central bank digital currency at all. We have a public, transparent ledger with Bitcoin that anyone around the world can use. And I think it will be beneficial for governments to use it. That way there isn't any questions when it comes to government citizens about where our money going to, right? We don't have to ask how much the U.S. donated to a third world country or another country, or disaster relief, or the World Health Organization, and all this other stuff where money just goes and flows. We can all just log on to our computers or our phones or iPads or whatever, and we can look at it. So everything that Deutsche Bank is trying to get the government to start to do, we already have, right? We know that. Second thing, if they really wanted this to happen as well, they could just went with Mark Zuckerberg, remember? Oh, Marky Mark already said, hey, I have Libra. This will be the privatized coin that banks and everyone else can use. We're good to go. And what happened? The European Union pushed back. The US pushed back. Everybody, by and large, pushed back against Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook Libra's coin. The banks pushed back. So again, it's crazy to see this again. Not even a year ago, banks and everyone else was browbeating Mark Zuckerberg and his Libra coin. And then again, less than a year later, they're like, hey, we need to do that same thing that Bitcoin is already doing and that Mark Zuckerberg tried to do. We need to do that as a bank and government together, guys. Like, we got to work together or it's going to be too late. China and Sweden's already going to beat us, right? And that's my third thing. If banks are already talking about or using this in their literature, their public literature, where they're telling governments that, hey, you don't want to be left behind from other banks or from China for Sweden. Again, I guarantee you, most major banks and governments already have a CBDC. I know the United States government has one because if you remember when we first was going to release the stimulus package, on that first bill, they were going to release the stimulus via a digital wallet using digital dollars. So it's not even a question if the U.S. has it. We have it. We just haven't deployed it yet. So again, I just want to cover that in this story because we're going to see more of this. Right now it's Deutsche Bank, not even a full year maybe, but this time next year, you're going to have Bank of America doing the same thing, writing this up, sending it to the United States government. You're going to have Chase doing the same thing. You have Goldman Sachs. You have all these people, Wells Fargo, doing the same thing to our government, saying, hey, you can keep playing if you want and not deploy this thing, and China's is going to be already up and running, and we're going to still be using cash, especially if we go into a second year of a pandemic. If we go into a second year of where I'm not trying to touch cash right now, if that happens twice, then yes, we're going to see some interesting things happening in the crypto space. What's going on, S1 Dubs? Ryan James said the elites will try to usher in digital I can't even say without laughing now. The elites will try to usher in digitized Biden bucks in 2021. Listen, don't trigger people today, okay? Thank you. Maurice Parks, everyone want their own piece of the pie, which will be all of their downfalls and give rise to crypto adoption everywhere. So that part, I'm in agreement to a certain extent. Everyone does want a piece of the pie, and by and large, that will be the majority's downfall, but there's still going to be a company or a bank or a government that squeezes in there. You better believe that. And when that happens, I don't know if it's really going to be the downfall. Unfortunately, I get what you're saying, and that's why I always say Bitcoin has won the war. Like, crypto is here to stay. But we're seeing this all the time. Like, the masses are very easy to manipulate when you have an entire media team behind you and billions of dollars to operate with. And that's what some of these governments and these banks have. They have a lot of power in the media, and they have a lot of money to just go in different directions with different resources. So I say all that where it's like, hey, will this be their own downfall? Kind of, yeah, I think so. But also, if it's something like Bank of America, Chase, and JP Morgan Bank of America, JP Morgan, and Wells Fargo comes together and makes a CBDC that the government can agree with, you think the government's not gonna go all in on that? I think so. And I think once they do is when we'll start hearing things like, yeah, it's illegal to own more than $2,000 of Bitcoin. Or if you're using Bitcoin during the hours of 9 to 5, you'll hear something crazy. So I don't know. We'll see though. Eric Book said, corporate bail-in digital currency. Make it digital so the government can easily confiscate it. You already know. Nate Moss said, what's going on? How can we get folks to move to Bitcoin but get over the price? We want to close the gap at 16K a coin. That still tips the hand to those who can or cannot afford it, I'm assuming. Well, that's the same thing we always say. You don't have to buy $16,000 worth of Bitcoin. Go and buy $5 a week, right? Go buy $10 a week, $20 a week. You can buy a Satoshi worth of crypto if you're doing it through somebody. So you don't have to go in and buy the full $16,000. So that's something that's important to know about this space where any cryptocurrency you can buy for, you can buy up to less than a penny's worth for the most part. You don't have to buy a $16,000 coin. All right, more information regarding where governments are going. How Ant's suspended IPO is related to China's digital yuan. This is a pretty interesting story by David Pan on CoinDesk. It looks like Ant Group suspended initial public offering, which was Jahan Wu, ASIC miners, and all that good stuff, has shed further light on a possible motivation behind China's digital yuan. The Chinese government appears to view the payments giant as a destabilizing force to China's economy, and the digital yuan is a way to keep companies like this in check. So basically, Ant's IPO, as it stated in this article, exposed fault lines in the digital payment industry. And China's bank does not like that, right? They saw Ant being launched, doing a big IPO, which we called the Ant IPO a long time ago. I think Coinbase, again, is going to do an IPO as well. I think right now they did an IPO with the price being at what it is. They probably had a 16 to 25 billion. I know that's a big range, but they're probably between 16 to 25 billion on just an average going rate for Coinbase right now. So we know that, again, Ant shares tried to do their IPO. It was going to be huge in China, one of those big things. They have all the miners. Of course, they have a large percentage of a mining farm, as well as a large percentage of all the miners that go out there, right? Those ASIC miners. But it looks like those fault lines were showing China that, hey, if Ant actually launches his IPO and they do well, or and they do something like create their own digital currency, or with their miners and their mining farms, they decide just to hold on to all the Bitcoin, they could defeat, and mess up China's economy and all their future plans with the central bank digital currency, right? The CBDC. I brought this story up because that is essentially what happened in the United States. When the United States realized Mark Zuckerberg was serious and he was launching Libra coin, and crazy thing, people, ever since that Libra thing, we haven't heard a word from Mark Zuckerberg, right? He decided to lay down, I understand, or he decided to get down. I understand the U.S. don't play games, right? We all got to get down. But he got down, right? But you haven't heard a thing from Mark Zuckerberg. And I feel like that was the same thing that happened in the U.S. It just wasn't written about like this. The same thing happened where the U.S. saw Mark Zuckerberg's Libra coin, possibility of it taking off, and they pumped the brakes on it. They suspended it. Hey, tap on the shoulder. We can't have this. Ant Group received the same tap on the shoulder from China. And this goes along those last two articles of Ray Dalio saying they might get outlawed once it finally reaches a point of material success. And as well as the last article that mentioned that the Deutsche Bank is saying that, hey, this is the future. CBDCs are the future. This is another thing that kind of shows it that, yes, this is the future. Governments are clamping down. And if they can stop an IPO from happening, or even worse, if you can actually do an ICO or something and the government can come back around and take $1.26 billion from an industry in 1 year, then I think that all these people are on to something. That we're in for more fights and more battles than we know. Again, the war has been won, but it's definitely going to get ugly. You know that. Let's see. Too rich to miss. What's going on? DCA is the way. Maurice Parks, Will 45, James Doe, Malik Howard. James Doe said Libra coin was a scam in 2018. Too rich to miss. The institutions, especially here, are going to buy up all the real Bitcoin and give most unsuspecting new retailers fake Bitcoin via ETFs, PayPal. Listen, you take the words out of my mouth. I love our crypto warriors here. That's actually the very next story, and I was going to talk about that, which is why I stopped reading your comment, reading the rest of your comment. But if you read Too Rich to Miss comment, he or she is correct. The institutions are essentially, basically, they're trying to buy up all the Bitcoin right now, and they're trying to sell you back the funny money. The same thing we did with gold when we basically tried to get up all the gold on the planet as we could, and then started giving people dollars, and then all of a sudden they say, those dollars don't even match the gold. Don't even worry about it, right? But we still got the gold. You got the dollars. The same thing is going to happen with Bitcoin right now. We're already seeing companies buy up Bitcoin left and right, organizations, investors, and they are about to sell crap back to you. PayPal is a good example. Now, this may be why the price pumped today. PayPal's crypto trading and payments went live in the U.S., and customers were allowed to trade up to $20,000 a week rather than the originally announced $10,000. So, again, that wait list has been already ended. Customers can go in and buy it. It seems good. It's available to 26 million merchants, as they say here, and millions of other individuals who use that platform and service. Again, I think we saw that reflected in the price today. Some people who probably don't even know about Bitcoin logged on to their PayPal may have seen it. I haven't logged on to my PayPal yet, so I'm not sure how it looks. But as Too Rich to Miss pointed out, this is what you need to know about the PayPal service, and almost every other new service is going to come out. And I think we're going to see this on a lot of new exchanges too. CoinDesk actually highlighted it. Cointelegraph did not put it in there. But here at the very bottom, I love to see it too. That is at the bottom. Let me see. Where is it at? Here it is. At the very bottom of the article, just like I'm sure it's in the small writing in PayPal. According to PayPal's cryptocurrency terms and conditions, and again, remember when it comes to terms and conditions with these companies, they will switch them on you overnight. Quote, you currently are not able to send crypto assets to family or friends, use crypto assets to pay for goods or services, or withdraw crypto assets from your cryptocurrencies hub to an external cryptocurrency wallet. That means you do not own that Bitcoin. In fact, if you were to hold cash in PayPal, you own more of that cash than you do that Bitcoin you own with PayPal. Not your keys, not your coins, right? PayPal owns that Bitcoin. And it's crazy to see that they wouldn't even allow you to transfer it to an external wallet. I can understand them saying the friends and family and all that, not wanting to get involved, the trading and all that. But to not even allow it to go to an external wallet is saying a lot. And I think this is the future. This is what we're going to see. Right now it's PayPal. Once these banks roll out CBDCs, you're allowed to have CBDCs. You're not allowed to transfer them to private wallets. You're allowed to transfer them to bank certified and government registered and regulated wallets. You watch what I say. You'll be allowed to transfer them there. You will not be allowed to transfer these things to your private wallets. So again, for this even to be in their writing, for this to be in the literature and the terms and conditions, and knowing PayPal, a big company, plenty of lawyers, which means the government is in on this, the legal side know about it. All these people know about this. What is that telling you? This is as close as the government can get to tell you what direction they're moving in Bitcoin without whoever the president is. I don't even know what's going on right now. Without whoever the president is grabbing the microphone saying, this is what we're going to do with Bitcoin. This is as close as it gets. You have to read in between the lines. and PayPal essentially told everyone what was going to happen next when it comes to crypto. James Doe said this isn't anything new for PayPal. Oh, that's crazy. You know it. This is what they do. This is definitely what they do. All right. Last but not least, hold on. S1 Dove said that's what you should do. Give PayPal your Bitcoin so you can buy those Nikes. All right. Last but not least, definitely want to give another shout out to Binance.us is back in the news as they add my alma mater. Is it alma mater or meter? I don't know. That's a public school for you though. Binance.us as North Carolina now services more than 80% of the U.S. Shout out to North Carolina. So a lot of things in this one. I'm happy to see that Binance went to North Carolina. First, I have to talk a little smack because North Carolina, per usual, historically, always one of the last places to move on something, right? I just want to be a big follower. No. But for those who don't know, North Carolina and Raleigh has what's called RTP, Research Triangle Park, which is a consortium of tech companies, colleges, North Carolina State, Wolfpack in the house. We're right there. There's in our backyard. 15 minutes away is Duke. 15 minutes away, you have North Carolina Chapel Hill. 10 minutes away, you have North Carolina Central. 45 minutes away, you have North Carolina A&T. And I'm forgetting like a good 60. You have Meredith, all women's school. What else? It's literally another 5 or 6 colleges. I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. It's like another two HBCUs in the area. 2 more women's schools and like 6 or 7 public schools and a couple of private. So literally within a 45-minute radius, or if you want to go short than that for just RTP, in a 15 to 20-minute radius, you have about 9 to 10 colleges, right? At least. And this article actually hits on that. Binance.us opened registration to U.S. users in September of 2019, but excluded residents of 13 states due to local laws. It has since added 4 states, including North Carolina. In November 12 statement to Cointelegraph, Binance.us CEO Catherine Coley said that the digital asset marketplace was now available for North Carolina's 10.5 million residents, allowing them to buy, trade, and earn crypto. The state is home to Research Triangle Park, again, Wolfpack in the house, people, an area known for high-tech research and development firms, including Cisco Systems. Shout out to Cisco. I know they hire a lot of North Carolina State graduates, so shout out to them, as well as nearby blockchain consulting company ChainYard. North Carolina is a state that has been involved in building the banking industry and involving technology, stated Cooley. Research Triangle Park and other robust school systems in the state have positioned it positioned to meaningfully impact the blockchain industry. The state can begin to build more companies that have easy access now to cryptocurrency. So again, to unpack that is unfortunately is not as positive as a story as I think, or at least in the short term, because as it was already mentioned, North Carolina does have those big the banking industry, right? Charlotte is home of Bank of America. And this is why I had to go ahead and give North Carolina a hard time from the beginning, because North Carolina should have been one of the first states to adopt crypto. Research Triangle Park, it is amazing. I mean, the last time I was there was years ago, probably at this point 10 years ago. And 10 years ago when they were building stuff, it was already amazing. And I remember since then, some of my friends who still live in the area and go back, they always tell me it looks like a futuristic city over there. And some of RTP is actually connected to our school. So we have our Centennial campus, which we do a lot of the tech stuff, and what else? We do a lot of, I can't think of everything, but there's a lot of tech stuff we do on Centennial, as well. I think it's like art, design, and fabric and stuff. But that's a part of it. I remember seeing it. It does look futuristic. The technology is in that area. So you say if North Carolina and RTP is all this, you got 10 or 15 colleges in the same area. Why did it take so long for Bitcoin and crypto to come, right? Why did it take so long for Binance.us to come inside the state? And that's because of the banking sector that lies, 2 hours up the street in Charlotte. Again, Bank of America is literally home there. It's headquartered there. I know Wells Fargo is huge there. Wachovia, before they changed, used to be huge there, where they got bought out or whatever. It is a big banking state. And that is the craziest thing, too, because you have all these young people who are coming to school, or young minds, or fresh minds. I won't say young, just fresh minds of people coming in school, looking at things different, because everybody's different ages, right? But they are actually going to school with hopes of, hey, this is some cool new technology. And then just like we're seeing with the government when it comes to cryptocurrency, banks are saying, no, we are not having that cool new technology in our state, in our backyard, with the same students that we've been giving grants to, scholarships to, and everything else under the sun to, so they can come work for the banks and keep this banking sector alive and well. This is the sector that runs that state. So again, shout out to Binance.us for even getting inside of the state. At this point, of course, shout out to Research Triangle Park, RTP, North Carolina State, and the surrounding schools. because there is a lot to offer in that, people. I'm telling you, in a small space, you have over 100,000 students with a lot of leisure time and resources from the school, resources from their parents, wherever else, but they have these resources to jump into blockchain and make waves in the next 2 or 3 years. So I had to say all that. Good to see Binance is now in North Carolina. I'm glad North Carolina wasn't the last state to see. Oh, excuse me. I meant to have blockchain come. I'm glad to see they weren't the last state to do it. And yeah, shout out to North Carolina. Shout out to Research Triangle Park. Go down the road, show Charlotte and the rest of the state that, hey, we don't only have to rely on banking. And in fact, some of their practices are backwards and harm a lot of people in the state that work for the bank, which is even crazier. The bank employs so many people that their practices actually harm as well. So just have to say that. Shout out again to Binance out in the US. James Doe. Oh man, listen, you're gonna make people in North Carolina heads explode, because I'm about to say this and they don't know this as a fact either. But James Doe said North Carolina is a state the size of a city in China. Listen, they're not gonna like that. I'm gonna tell you now, they're not gonna like that. Look at but shout out again to North Carolina. A lot of schools in there, a lot of good stuff going on. Let's see. James Doe said you can't give PayPal your crypto. You have no address to send it to. Let's see. Wire Sparks said, boo, still haven't included Texas. I would love to see Texas in there as well. James Doe said there's a scam at every corner in this space. I wish I could protect them all, but they all know their scam is better. It is, unfortunately. And that's one of the things I think the government is going to try to use as a talking point. I mean, I'm not even going to say, I think if I were going to be writing like the narrative and the messaging, that would be one of my biggest talking points. I'll just scams, losing crypto, money. Like, you got to worry, technology. I'll just keep pushing that button to put fear into people. So I'm with you. It is a scam in every corner. I think they're going to highlight that. Harold George said, now if only New York will follow North Carolina, I can only dream. Oh, no, New York, the big boss. Look, that's Wall Street, Wall Street. North Carolina, the little mini bosses, right? Bank of America went down there, thought they could save on some state taxes moving out of New York, right? New York is the big boss. You're right. If only they could do it there. But we know the chances of that happening are rare. All right, other than that, that is the show for today. As always, thanks for watching. I don't have any new news. I think Bitcoin Zay, his book, the digital copy, is coming out in the next couple of days. Make sure you get that. Once this video processes and we upload the notes, I make sure I shout out where you can get these hoodies from Minho Donahue's website. Again, great hoodies. And you know, I always wear the button up. This guy got me wearing a hoodie all the time. It's getting cold out. I like rocking my Bitcoin hoodie and it's cool. So you already know I bit that off of Bitcoin Zay. No shame in my game. And I'll see you all tomorrow with some more Bitcoin and crypto news. Cheers.